Venus is your love language. It's how you want to receive love and how you express love. Venus represents your personal sense of style, the objects which you love to accumulate, the things that you love to have around you, and the environment that you choose to be in. Venus also represents how you spend your money, whether you are a big, extravagant, generous spender, or whether you like to keep your money quiet and to yourself and save a lot of money. Venus represents your sense of self-care, how you enact that self-care, and who you are attracted to and how you want to show that attraction to other people. Venus can, understanding your Venus placement can help you to know what kind of people you will attract into your life, if that's something you love about yourself, or if that's something you find more challenging. Venus can really help you to get to know who you are and why you express yourself in the way that you do. So without further ado, let's get into this video. In today's video, we are going to be discussing Venus in all 12 houses. So I recommend that you know your birth chart, that you know where your Venus is placed before you watch this video. There is plenty of free resources online for you to do this. And, you know, of course, you can check for other people as well if they say that's okay. And we are also going to be discussing Venus as a transiting planet in terms of retrograde and in terms of the houses and how that interacts with us all. When Venus is in a different sign, what vibe that's going to bring to us as she transits her way through the universe. Okay, let's get right into it. I'm Hazel, for those of you who don't know me. My professional business is Hex_Tarot. You can call me Hex if you wish to, and if you're new here, thank you for joining. You're very welcome. I hope you like my vibe and we can get to know each other and have some further conversations. And if you are a repeat offender and you come often, you are part of this community, welcome back as well. Thank you so much for helping me grow this. I'm just under 300 followers at the moment, which is like, I can't believe I have so many lovely people surrounding me and this community, and I'm really enjoying it and getting to know you all. So here we go. Venus. As I've said in the introduction, Venus represents our love language. Something that doesn't get talked about very much with Venus is how it governs our self-care and our sense of how we really look after this physical temple. And we're going to dive deeply into that in terms of the houses. And as I said, you need to know where your Venus placement is to really get to know how this interacts with your energy and how supportive Venus can be for you. Often we look at our ascendant, sun and moon, and that is they are very accurate for astrological predictions, but the other planets hold such a lot of energy in terms of our personal sense of self and how we operate. And Venus for self-care is crucial. If you have a very strongly aspected, supported Venus, then self-care is going to be something which comes very natural to you. If you have a Venus which is in a more challenging area in the birth chart, which has more challenging aspects, then, you know, self-care and self-love and even how you express love could have some roadblocks along the way, and you have to work a little bit harder to enact those aspects of self-care and harmony. This, however, is not fatalistic. Remember, these are just energies that we are working with. They are extra layers to help us understand more about who we are, so we can be better people to ourselves and to other people and to the planet that we live on, and radiate more love out into the universe. And that is fundamentally how I use astrology. It's to help us to be more lit up about who we are and feel better about who we are in the world. Okay, so a little bit about Venus. Venus is at home in Libra and Taurus. So Venus is most comfortable in those two signs, and it radiates at its fullness in those two signs. It is exalted in Pisces, which means it's like it's at home and then it's, okay, another way of putting it, it is on stage. So anytime a planet is exalted, it means it has the limelight. It is not just at home, but it has fully spread its angelic wings, and it can fly, it can soar. So we will talk about Venus in Pisces more in depth in another video, where I will discuss each sign and how Venus operates in that sign. But today it's about the houses. So Venus is in its fall in it's in its fall in Virgo, because Virgo is very analytical, Virgo is very black and white, so Venus has a difficult time being in Virgo, and it's at detriment, which means it's not very comfortable in Scorpio and Aries, and that's because they are very brooding, sort of self-focused signs. And Venus wants to love, Venus wants to be in luxury, Venus wants to be in comfort. Venus does not like feeling uncomfortable, like, say, for example, Mars, who is so driven that Mars can just take action to find the power, the drive, the comfort, the focus that they need. Venus doesn't want that kind of focus. Venus wants to radiate like a drop of water rippling on the surface of a lake. It just wants to radiate its energy outwards. It doesn't want to direct its energy. So that is why it feels more at home in the balance of Libra and in the holistic earth sign of Taurus. Okay, so Venus is always either two signs behind, one in the house that your sun is in, or one or two signs behind, or one or two signs in front, because Venus follows the sun. So you will never ever have a Venus which is opposite your sun. It's not possible unless it is a transiting planet, but at the birth chart it's one or two signs behind, conjunct with your sun, or one or two signs in front. So let's move on into the houses. We already know, we've already discussed that Venus governs self-care, and if you have Venus in your first house, wow. Firstly, you are very, very beautiful. You are aesthetically probably very symmetrical. You may be a romantic body type where you are very curvy or lush, or if you have more strong Libra placements, you would be very athletic looking, but still very, very beautiful. You usually have a beautiful voice if you have Venus in the first house, and you have a great personal sense of style. So whether your style is very boho or retro, or whether it's very slick and modernist and you wear a lot of black, whatever spectrum your style is on, you're gonna look good. You have a unique sense of personal style and personal identity. You understand your identity fully, you express your love language, you wear your heart on your sleeve. People like you. They like you not because of what you can give them or offer them, but they like you because you have a sense of bringing people in. You make people feel comfortable because you love yourself. You care about yourself. You express your inner world very fluently, very effectively, and very beautifully to the outside world. Venus in the first house is a little bit like watching songbirds at your bird table in the morning. It's a spectacle. It sounds beautiful, it looks beautiful, it fills you with joy, it's harmonious, it's busy, it's inviting. You want to be part of that energy, and it's also gentle. Say Pluto in the first house. People with Pluto in the first house they light up a room when they walk in, and they are unavoidably intense, but you want to be around them. They are magnetic. They are like Pluto in Venus is like David Bowie, right? It's like if that reference works for you and you're not too young to know who David Bowie is, but you know, it's like that sort of energy, that amplification. But Venus in the first house is like demure. You are not trying to draw people in. People just want to come to you. They resonate towards you. It's a Marilyn Monroe energy without the over sexuality. It's the innocence of just pure love. Now, the other thing that's really effective and joyful about Venus in the first house is you're really good at self-care. And the kind of self-care you will enact, okay, so it does depend on other planets and where they are in your chart, but generally it's self-facing. You want to look beautiful, you want to look good, you like to try out new things that help you to feel youthful, that help you to feel beautiful. You spend your money on outward self things. So a good example of this would be you like to go to beauticians, you like to have your hair done, you like to look nice, you like to invest in the clothing that you have and the things that you own. You like the wrapping to look nice. So you're probably going to be the kind of person who has a beautiful kitchen, right? Now, on a more generous level, you would also likely to be the kind of person who makes beautiful wrapping paper. You don't just think about the gifts and think about how that person wants to receive the gift, but you think about what you would like to receive and how you would like to feel. And you like to be generous because it makes you feel good, but you really consider other people and how they want to feel because you've thought about how you want to feel, and you make the wrapping beautiful. You are going to give the best Christmas gifts just aesthetically. They are going to look great. The bows and the wrapping paper and the outside wrapping, the outside packaging is just on fire, lit, beautiful, gorgeous. So if you have Libra in the first house, also expect to get invited to all the parties, all the weddings, loads of celebration. People just want to be near you. So when Venus is transiting your first house, you're also going to feel that way. You're going to feel more lit up, you're going to feel more energized, you're going to feel more at home. Your personal sense of style is going to feel, you're going to feel more comfortable in who you are. You might want to beautify yourself as well. Things like exercise, self-care, being pampered. That's something that you're going to want to be focusing on when Venus crosses your ascendant or Venus is in the first house. Okay, moving on to the second house. The second house is all about responsibility, money. It's kind of ruled by Saturn, so we want to be more discerning about how we spend our money. If Venus is in your second house, you like to save, you like to purchase very high quality items that afford you more simplicity and more luxury. So I'm thinking like minimalism, right? You want high value things. You're the kind of person who may purchase an antique, like a really beautiful antique mirror, for example, because it brings you it opens up your home, it creates light in your home that's purposeful, but also it's an investment for the future. So you want to invest in things. You might be the kind of person, if you're a bit more bougie, you might spend money, a high amount of money on like a really expensive handbag because it's an investment. And the same with your assets as well. So your generosity is much more considered. You're not going to spend money as freely. You're not going to be as generous with day-to-day frivolous things. So you might not be the first to open your wallet when you pay for a meal, but what you would likely to do is to have a really secure will so that the people who you love benefit after you've passed on. So it's about you're much more responsible, and also you take your self-care a lot more serious. Who you are attracted to are more likely to be people who have their ducks in a row. Eggs in a row. You know, they're much more discerning, they're much more serious. You like professionals. You want to feel secure. Security is huge for you if you have Venus in the second house. And you want to feel like you are getting somewhere and that things are serious. So you're much less likely to have frivolous relationships. Unlike the first house, who Venus first house people just sit there and people just come to them, and then they nurture those relationships who come to them and they love them, but they don't have to try. For you, you're much more discerning, and you would be much less likely to be extrovert. Obviously we need to look at the other placements holistically, but just talking about Venus, you're going to be more reserved about love. You're going to be more reserved about how you feel about love. Once you are in love, you will not let go of love, and you're not sort of like this love everyone, free love can be all different things kind of person. You're more like, love is this to me, and love is security, and that's what I require. So that's going to be your love language. And likewise, if Venus is transiting your second house, irrespective of which sign that second house is, you're going to be dealing with money matters. Venus becomes much less about style and self-expression, and much more about taking responsibility for how you pay for that style, where you put your items, which items you have, what your material world looks like, and how secure that feels, and also how secure your relationships are. So this is a time for commitment. Okay. Third house, Venus in the third house. I really like Venus in the third house people. I know a few Venus in the third house people, and they are very kind. They have a childlike quality about them. So the third house rules siblings, community, neighbours, your local area, tradespeople. So it covers a lot of aspects. So Venus in the third house is generally people who want to live in places that have a sense of community. So whether that's like a very sort of bougie, hipstery area, or small village, or even like an actual community, like a off-grid community or an alternative community, that's a form of self-care to people who are Venus in the third house. They need that sense of support to feel at home. They're also very likely to have relationships and close interactions with people from the local area, so they have good working relationships with local people. They have romantic partnerships with people who they meet locally. They want to be around their home. They want to live, they don't want to live polarized. They don't want to be working hundreds of miles away from where they live. They want to bring everything in. And also they have great relationships with their siblings. They usually have, depending on a birth chart, but they usually have pretty good relationships with their extended family members, especially if they live locally. If they live away at times, the Venus in the third house people are much more likely to come back home and to want to be nearer to their immediate family. That's just how they feel cared for and nurtured, and they will attract people who are generally quite positive people, who have a childlike energy about them, who are fun and want to be fun and want to play. When they were little, particularly, Venus in the third house people will have been very cute. They'll have been aesthetically very cute people, very cute children, possibly like outstanding in some way, whether that's through the arts or music. And often Venus in third house people are musical in some way. They're musicians. Or creative, not so much the visual arts, but definitely audible arts. Okay, so when Venus is transiting through the third house, we will be more inclined to communicate with our siblings. We will be more inclined to be in our local area and want to spend money in our local area. So Venus in third house people, and when Venus transits the third house, we're going to go to our local coffee shops. We're going to have more communication and more conversation with local people and local businesses. So that is a really great time if you are a local business, or own a local, if you own a local business, or you know, you have like, you want to put on an exhibition or you want to do something. If Venus is transiting your third house, it's a great time to do that. It's a great time to do local things, to organise little fetes or parties, or it's coming up to Halloween, so if Venus is entering or in your third house, great time for trick-or-treating. So, you know, all that stuff. Venus in your fourth house. Venus in the fourth, sorry, just gonna get a little sip of coffee. So Venus in your fourth house, Venus in fourth house people, home is where your heart is. Your love language is time at home, time with your family, beautifying your home. You spend a lot of money on how you want your home to look. You spend a lot of time in your home and you want it to feel good. You want it to feel comfortable. You want to entertain at home. Most of your social interactions come from being at home. So you invite people in. You could be more private and not really want to do that. You could be more introverted and not really want to do that. But the same applies. You like being at home. You like the comfort of being at home. And family are your friends. Your love language is very home based. So you're going to be someone who attracts very nurturing people, family orientated people, people who like to cook, who like to bake. Perhaps you like to cook and bake. You like to, maybe you're really into craft and you like, or gardening, and you like doing things which are in and around your secure little nest. It's a very sort of like hobbity energy. I mean, that doesn't mean that you can't be like, you know, into austere architecture and like, you know, live that kind of lifestyle and have that kind of taste. But it's not likely, right? You're going to be cottagecore all the way. I'm actually Venus in the 6th house, but we'll discuss that later. But you know, you want more comfort, and how you get your self-care is through being at home and being with your family. When you feel bad, the best thing for you to do is to nurture yourself and get yourself in a duvet and be self-soothe and be around your family and be around the people who you love dear. So Venus in the 4th house, people, you're going to attract homemakers, like, no doubt. You're going to attract family orientated people, and that because that's what you want. You don't want someone who is completely career minded and like out there, you know, reaching Beyonce levels of success if that is sacrificing the home and family. That is a requirement for you, is that someone can feel comfortable and that you can feel comfortable in your environment. Depending on your moon as well, your moon can govern property and real estate. If you've got a well aspected Venus and a well aspected moon, wow, you're going to have a beautiful home. You're probably going to have a very aesthetically, visually pleasing, comfortable, wow kind of home. But it needs to be nurturing. Let's move on to Venus in the 5th house. Venus in the 5th house, people, the 5th house is all about play. It's all about the inner child. It's about the self and how you express that in the community. It's about love affairs, dating, flings. Also, it's about children. So if you are Venus in the 5th house, you probably love kids. You love hanging out with kids. You love children. If you have children, they're going to be very beautiful. They're going to enrich your life in some way. And how you spend money is very generous. You are a big spender and you will spend it on everyone. You will pay for parties, you will pay for people's entertainment. You are just generous. It comes in and it goes and you don't really think about it. It's almost the complete opposite to Venus in the 2nd house in terms of how you deal with money. You just want to express yourself and you want everyone to have a good time. So you love throwing parties, you love games nights and being part of creating a world. I could even see cosplay, you know, being a thing for Venus in the 5th house, because you want to play. You want that inner child to resonate outwards. And if you do have children, or you work with kids, or you just have children that are important to you and you love being around younger people and children, then you're going to be generous with them. You're going to be generous with your time. You're going to be nurturing and loving and gentle and kind and all those very adoring female feminine nurturing qualities that come with the Venusian goddess energy. So it is a wonderful placement for Venus in the 5th house. However, as I've mentioned, you can overspend, and the other aspect, which can be both very, very exciting and joyful but also very challenging, is Venus in terms of love affairs in the 5th house. You have a lot of love affairs. You have a lot of suitors. You have a lot of people who want to get something from you and not necessarily take from you, but they want to enjoy you and they want to enjoy being with you, but for a good time, not for a long time. So Venus in the 5th house, when you are single, can be very good fun, but when you don't want to be single anymore, it can sometimes feel like too many cooks in a kitchen. it's ultimately a really nice house to have Venus in. It's very fun. You have a lot of fun, like, no doubt, whether that's to do with your children, your hobbies, how you play, how you express yourself, how you spend money. It's fun. It's all good fun, but it can just be a little bit extra. Also, you can scare people away at times if they are a bit more discerning and serious. Don't worry about those people. Those people are not for you. Venus in the 5th house would go really well with a Venus in the 1st house, because Venus in the 1st house is like, come to me, love me, and Venus in the 5th house is like, I want to show you love. I'll give you everything, and it's very generous. So those two energies work really well together, and I think they would have a lot of fun and a lot of spark together, you know, depending on what astrological sign they're in and other aspects. But, you know, that's the kind of energy that we're talking about here. So when Venus transits the 5th house, what we are dealing with is generosity. We're dealing with stuff to do with kids, stuff to do with play, stuff to do with dressing up or being out and about, being out in public, wanting to throw parties, that kind of thing. But it's not you being in the limelight. It's you, if you imagine it like a 5th house being like a Leo energy, it's you being the center of making things happen, not necessarily you being on the pillar being worshipped. It's you creating the vibe. When we have Venus transiting our 5th house, we're going to be more spenny, and what we're spending money on is other people primarily, in order to have more fun with them. So, you know, we're taking friends out to dinner who are a bit skint, we're inviting people to do things, and we're happy to buy the drinks, we're happy to express, we're happy to spend, we're happy to be around people, but we're creating that vibe. Okay, Venus in the 6th house. Venus in the 6th house is all about daily routine and pets as well. Pets are massive if you have Venus in the 6th house. I will talk about that in a moment, but it's about your health and daily routine. If you have Venus in the 6th house, it's very similar to having Venus in the 1st house, in the sense that you like to beautify yourself. You are probably quite beautiful. You have, well, depending on the aspects of Venus, you can either, health is a focus. It's either a focus because you are in very good health and you like to maintain that health, and health, you are very aware of health, you are very aware of your diet, you are very aware of your sleep, your beauty, your youth, or you have a more challenging time with maintaining those things, but you still do. So whichever scale you are on in terms of your health journey, having Venus in the 6th house amplifies those things, and it gives you a step up to be able to nurture and enact self-care with ritual daily practice. Now, I've got Venus in my 6th house. Luckily, she is very happy there. She's exalted in Pisces. But Venus in the 6th house, I'm not going to go into Venus in Pisces. I will do that in another video. But Venus in the 6th house, people, routine is a big thing for you. Beauty routines, ritual routines, self-care routines. Also, you might have a tendency to love sweet food. You might have I've got a massive sweet tooth. You might have a tendency to overindulge in self-care, or be maybe at times unroutined and overindulgent. You spend money freely on a daily basis. You might be more impulsive around daily things, or you might spend a lot of money on, say, like food, or you could spend a lot of, I mean, we all spend a lot of money on food right now, right? But, you know, I'm talking like organic, health orientated food, or very bougie, like, you know, those beautiful sort of retro cakes that are very fashionable at the moment, or you know, lavish things. It's like, we're thinking Versailles here. We're talking Venusians in the 6th house, it's Marie Antoinette. That's what you're going for, Marie Antoinette. So you are extra in your daily life, and that's how you feel your self-care as well. Good for you. Good for you. No judgment placed on it. Where you need to watch out is that you might be Marie Antoinette in the 6th house. So it's like you can be extra, but you also have to be discerning about how extra you are on a daily basis. It's a bit like the 5th house is like, it knows when, 5th house Venusians know when to play, they know when to be generous, and they know when to have fun. And it's usually for something like, you know, big birthdays and big celebrations, and it's all very grand. But Venus in the 6th house is like, I want to taste that constantly and all day. And where it can become difficult is if you're not maintaining and looking after your health. If part of your bouginess is that you like to do your makeup and look a certain way and express yourself a certain way and be ostentatious, and that's part of your self-care, that's really good. If it's not part of your self-care and it's self-comforting or self-soothing, and actually it's detrimental to your physical health, that can be an issue. Venus in the 6th house people like people who are independent. They like people who have their own things going on, and they like people who have their own routines, because you do. And you don't want to break your routines off for anyone else. You want to maintain your balance, and you want to maintain your health, or you want to maintain your bougie lifestyle because that suits you. And other people need to match that. If other people don't match that, you're going to feel frustrated, and the scale will tip into the overindulgent side of the Marie Antoinette vibe, right? I think, and this might be coming from just me being Venus in the 6th house, but I also think that Venus in the 6th house people own a lot of stuff. You're going to be, because you like things, you like beauty, you like a daily dose of beauty. And so the kind of TV programs you watch, the kind of films you like, you're very arty, you're very creative, you want nice bougie things around you. You are the kind of person who would go to the best quality gym because that made you feel good about yourself, and you don't want things to be, tatty, you want things to be nice. So a good example of this, I'm going to use myself as a personal example. I do a lot of events in my profession. I am really good at booking hotels. I somehow manage to get the best hotels, the best accommodation. It comes natural to me. That is something that I'm really good at. And my friends who work events with me often ask me to book for them. So that is the kind of energy that you're working with. You just want nice daily lived experiences. And generally, Venus in the 6th house people, yeah, you have aspects that you have to deal with your health. You might have struggles with your health, or you might sometimes obsess about your health and keeping up with your health or other people's health. But on the flip side, you're very optimistic, you're very positive, and you're nice to people who you're around on a daily basis. You're polite, you're personable, you're likable, and whether you're introvert or extrovert, often you are willing to talk to your neighbours, you are willing to talk to local people, and you're quite chatty in that way. Okay, when Venus is transiting the 6th house, health is going to be huge. Health, you want to get your health into gear, you want to focus on your daily routines, you want to beautify your daily routines, you want to streamline them, you want to feel lit, you want to feel good about yourself. Venus transiting through the 6th house is a great time to start healthy eating plans, to start exercise plans, to start looking after yourself. And it's not in a like, oh, I have to do it now kind of way. It's like, look, I want to implement these things because I want them to be part of my future, and I'm going to work on them slowly, and I'm going to see the detail and the benefits happening over time. I don't need it to happen now. It's something that I'm integrating fully into my routine. You will spend money during a Venus retrograde, during a Venus in the 6th house on those kind of things. I don't know, skincare, vitamins, that kind of thing. Venus in the 6th house is also very creative. So if it's transiting your 6th house, you're more likely to be feel very creative in your daily routines, and it's great for ideas if you are a creative and you work in the creative arts. Venus in the 7th house. Oh, how lucky you are if you have Venus in the 7th house, because your relationships are delightful. You tend to have really close relationships, often with women, but not always. You can have relationships with anyone on any spectrum, but they are very nurturing. They are very Venusian in energy, so they are full of generosity, they are healing, they are nurturing. In some ways they are very motherly, so either you are very nurturing, very motherly, or the people who you draw in are very nurturing and very motherly, very soothing, joyful and expansive relationships. The partners that you are attract are very beautiful, like very beautiful. You do not attract partners who you are like, not sure about them. You are like, wow. All your girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, they, thems, whoever they are going to be gorgeous, and other people are going to know they're gorgeous too. And that's not through vanity. You just like beautiful people, right? And you attract beautiful people, and likely you're very beautiful as well, and you want to be you want to match in your relationships too. It's quite a scorpionic energy, that like wanting to match. So you want your partner to have a similar taste to you. You want them to like look good with you and have like an aesthetic going on, like a power couple aesthetic going on. And also just generally in all your relationships, your friendships, your love affairs, your business affairs, things are generally very smooth. You don't often have a lot of trouble with your relationships. You stay friends with exes. That's another nice thing about Venus in the 7th house. Now, in some more challenging negative aspects, Venus in the 6th and 7th house can, if it's in any sort of detriment or difficult angles with other planets, it can represent legal matters. But if it's well placed, you know, and like open enemies, okay? But if it's well placed, we don't have that energy so much. It's more about finding harmony and balance in relationships. How you spend your money is on your partner. You lavish your partner with presents and gifts, and you want to look after them. You really are very generous with your partner, and when you truly love them, when you truly fall in love, it is very real. It is very humbling and honest, and it is like that drip that I spoke about in a lake. It's that, you know, your heart sort of resonates outwards, and the love that you have for your closest intimate people around you just grows and grows and grows, and it is very nurturing and very generous. So if you know a Venus in the 7th house person, they're going to be quite honest. They're going to be genuine about their feelings towards you, whether that's like they don't like you, or the relationship ends and they can't stand you anymore. They're going to be vocal about that. or they absolutely adore you and love you, and they're going to be vocal about that as well. They're going to be honest about that. They don't let go of people easily. Once they are attuned to them, once they are in love, once they find that level of authenticity and honesty and commitment, they don't let go. So even if, you know, you have been divorced for 20 years, if you're going to find that Venus, that your ex-partner, if they're Venus in the 7th house and you still have a good relationship with them, or you know, there was no hate there, it's gonna be like you're still married. They're gonna be like buying you gifts and like looking after you and checking in with you, and, you know, just being very loving and nurturing towards you. And that's kind of nice. That's nice. When Venus is transiting your 7th house, be sure that this is a great time to enter business contracts, negotiations with business partners, committing to spending money on positive, reinforced actions which are going to be supportive to you and another person. So great in business. And also love, if Venus is transiting your 7th house, this is a time for relationships. This is a time for beautifying your relationship, for indulging your partner, for spending money on your partner and on your relationship, for lovemaking, for coming together, for marriage. There's a great one for marriage. Yeah, so Venus in the 7th house, very positive. Venus in the 8th house. I don't know why I said it like that, but I kind of do, because Venus in the 8th house is power and control. It is much darker in energy. So the 8th house can sometimes be associated with scorpionic energy and that kind of like you know, darker, more taboo things. The 8th house rules magic, it rules sex, it rules exchanges of money and inheritance and more taboo, darker topics. So sex, power and control. If you've got Venus in the 8th house, you are all about those 3 things in relationships. You probably love to go to clubs where they wear a lot of leather. And if you don't, then you are very private about how you love, who you love. You might have love affairs with people who are in relationships or alternative kind of setups, and power and control is definitely part of that. On the positive end of the spectrum, obviously it's all consensual and you're having a great time and you love to booze and you might do sex magic and you might do occult things. You might be drawn to more Venusian occult things like I don't know, like ritualistic things, you know, temples, and, you know, you might have a shrine and be drawn towards icons and worship, body worship, things like that. So it can be very, very joyful having Venus in the 8th house, particularly Venus is transit in the 8th house. If you have opened your heart and your ego up enough that you feel comfortable with your physicality, Venus in the 8th house can be very positive, especially when it's transiting, because you can play with all these things about sex and power. And, you know, you are very, if you have Venus in the 8th house, you are very sexy. The way you move your body is sexy. You are very sexual. You are very overtly sexual, and you want to express yourself physically. It's a little bit of an energy of like, it's a very powerful feminine divine energy, and you don't have to be female to go with that, but you know what I mean. It's that kind of like Medusa, like that Medusa energy of luring people in through just your your musk, your smell, you know. And that, interestingly, you probably would go for like darker perfumes, and you want to spend money on things like that as well. You want to spend money on high-end makeup, high-end perfumes. You want to smell strongly. You probably like a more sexy kind of way of dressing, or more demure way of dressing, similar to the second house. You know, you like very high quality things, and you want to present yourself as being more mysterious, more magical, more mystical. I know a few sort of high priestess type women who have their Venus in the 8th house, and they are deep. They are deep wells of knowledge and information. Mother and ancestry is also big for the 8th house. So inheritance, you may expect to receive money from the women in your life, or you spend money on the women in your life. And also there could be things like inheritance coming to you. You could also find that you have quite a good sort of sense of your own sexual power. So you are able to draw people in through utilizing that energy. So again, with the Marilyn Monroe example I gave in the first house, where it's like the innocent side of Marilyn Monroe, this would be more like a sort of potent, I'm trying to think of like sex symbols that I know, and I literally can't think of any celebrities, but yeah, that kind of like more burlesque, more teasing, more alluring. And you like people like that as well. You want deep people. You want people with lots of potency. They have to feel very deep and physical in some way. There has to be some sort of physicality about them, some sort of brooding darkness about them. That's really important for you, Venusian people. If Venus is transiting your 8th house, you're gonna feel that sexual power. You're gonna feel more in line with that darker sense of wanting to explore the taboo. A great way to experience that would be to like go to a temple, like a pagan temple, or like a Hindu temple, or something where there's a lot. It's like maximalism, it's experience, it's smells, it's dark, it's rhythmic, it's of the earth, it's activating your root chakra. That's what 8th house Venus is about. It's activating your root chakra. Now, where complications might come in terms of like daily experience and health and spending money is you feel incredibly responsible for your own health, for other people's health, for how you spend your money. You feel responsible for your ancestry, you feel responsible for your heritage. If you're dual cultured, or you have any sort of indigenous, I mean, we're all indigenous to somewhere, right? But you know, if you feel your indigenous culture and you feel that is important, if you have Venus in the 8th house, you're not just going to feel that is important to you, but you feel like you're carrying it for all of your ancestors as well. And that can be a very tricky energy. So moving on to the 9th house, Venusians. If Venus is in your 9th house, you are very into learning. You want to learn things which improve your life. That's fundamentally where you're at. You are more likely to meet a lover in an environment which is more learned, more educational. You can meet your partner at university, or while studying, or going to a class. usually it's things which improve your life. So it's higher education, it's doctorates, that kind of thing, master degrees, those kind of things where you're wanting to like learn, you're wanting to absorb more. A really clear example of how a 9th house Venus would feel like they were operating self-care would be through they've done their art masters, now they're doing the art history doctorate, and they've also got a couple of courses that they're doing on, you know, they're doing a yoga course and they're doing a course on psychology and self-development, because they want to improve themselves and they want to be better. So they are always striving to learn more, and it's not that they think they're not better. Often Venus in the 9th house people can have a sense of belief in themselves. They are very optimistic, they have a sense of identity, they have a sense of where they are placed in the universe, and they may be very spiritual as well. They may have like a deep love for their particular deity or god or religious practice, or they might be very interested in finding their own path. Venus in the 9th house people tend to have great holidays. They tend to travel very widely, either in their own country or abroad. They're interested in different cultures, so they're interested in learning new languages, they're interested in what they believe. They very likely to be interested in philosophy and or just philosophical in themselves. And generally they're just like, I would say the way they spend money, they're gonna spend money on learning and education. And they want to attract people who are very intelligent. They want to attract people who also maybe they are engaged in some sort of critical thought with. So they might want to attract people who they don't necessarily agree with. They might want to attract people from different backgrounds because they're interested. They want to learn. They want to be challenged. So they are not afraid of that. It's very different to that like Venus in 1st house energy, where Venus in 1st house they don't want to challenge anyone. They want everyone to be happy and they want to bring everyone in by being happy themselves. Venus in the 9th house people want to feel the discomfort before they really understand, because that's their self-care language. That's how they understand, and that is how they self-care. So if you have Venus transit in the 9th house, this is a great time for undergoing education, self-development, self-learning, counselling. If you need to self-improve, doing anything which self-improves is great. And also people who have natives to Venus in the 9th house, if Venus is in your birth chart in the 9th house, you want to be attracting people, and you do attract people, and you want to love people who are self-improving as well. If you are doing that thing that Venus in 9th house people do, where you are challenging yourself by entertaining a relationship where someone is not on your level of self-care and they are self-destructive in some way, and it's a bit rock and roll and all over the place, you are going to learn the hard way. And we are all adults here. If you're a young adult, I can tell you I've done that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to learn the hard way. You can learn the effective way, which is by finding people who match your positivity, who match your optimism, who match your beliefs, or who challenge your beliefs but still are improving themselves, and they have that engagement of critical thought and intellect. That's the best route for you guys, and that's the best way to spend your money and operate self-care, is through self-development, self-healing and education. One other thing that I would say about Venus in the 9th house is don't give all your money to your organisations or to charities or to your churches. Be careful of false prophets in the 9th house. It's probably more of a transit thing, but you know, if you've got like if you've got like a moon in the 12th house and your Venus is in the 9th house, just be aware that, you know, you can get drawn into things like occults and things like that. Okay, Venus in the 10th house. Venus, you just want to shine. You want to be center of attention. If you imagine what I said about the 5th house, about the generosity, like the people in the 5th house are like, they're accidentally center of attention because they're creating the vibe. Venus in the 10th house is like, you want to be on that pillar. Whether you've created that or not, you want to be seen and you want to be out in public. This is mainly going to be contextualized through what you do for a living, through how you present yourself, through how you want to be seen out in the world. So if you have Venus in the 10th house, things like notoriety, celebrity, working in beauty as well, working with female issues. So you could be a doula or a midwife or a beautician. Venusian women's things are big. You are high priestess energy or high priest energy, where you want to be expressed, you want to be seen, you want to be on the pillar, or you want the things that you do to be public. So how your relationships are very public, definitely. Who you love needs to match your energy, they need to match your drive. You want to put them on a pillar and you want them to put you on a pillar. So it's a little bit of a goddess worship kind of situation, where sometimes if someone doesn't match your drive for that twin coupling energy, and someone doesn't match your drive for wanting to be out in the limelight, that can be a little bit jarring, and there can end up being competitiveness in your relationships. So that's something to watch out for. However, if you find people who are in your career and they match your drive, or they have their own career path and they're very career driven and they are wanting to leave a legacy behind as you are, and you're very discerning about what kind of legacy you leave behind, if you are a 10th house Venus, then you're going to attract someone who really supports that for you and they elevate that for you, either because they're in the same field as you, like for example 2 musicians creating a band together and working together to create something amazing, or whether it's they're a scientist and you know you're an author, that there's still that like drivenness individually which helps to support. You spend your money on legacy, you spend your money on how things look. So a very basic example of this would be you and your partner employ a extremely expensive bougie wedding photographer, because you're going to be leaving those details behind way after the wedding, right? You want the best of the best because you want to be seen, you want things to look a certain way, you want things to be choreographed. So that's like a really like base level superficial element of it. But a more a sort of deeper element of it is you want to be glamorous, you want to be put together, you invest in things and you spend money on things which help you to appear to be a certain way. So it's less about the self-expression of the 1st house or the play of the 5th house, and it's more about the professionalism of how things look. So, and that's not two-dimensional, that's not superficial, that's what's important to you, and that's fine, that's absolutely fine. And that chimes really well with career as well. So Venus in the 10th house obviously covers a lot of Venusian things. Venusian things are geared more towards beauty and money and finance. So you'd do really well as a financial advisor. You'd also do really well as a beautician or a hairstylist or a designer or a clothes stylist or a merchandiser, something like that. Because they're your concerns, and that's what you spend money on as well. You spend money on how things appear, how things look, how you want them to be, so that you can feel elevated within yourself. Self-care primarily comes through probably outward expressive things. So like you might get involved in a choir or an amateur dramatic society, or, you know, going to the beauticians, feeling beautiful in yourself, changing your hair, changing your identity in some way, but in order to further your career progression. It's a very sort of like, I see 10th house as like a bit of an actor kind of vibe, you know, like that sort of celebrity actor kind of vibe. And it's not always that kind of vibe, it's a very professional thing, but you know, that's a profession too, right? But you just want to be seen. Okay, so 11th house Venus people, you have great friends. You have a lot of fun with your friends. Like, your friends are your family, and they are they're good people. Like there's a saying that I really like to operate, which is, you are only as good as the 5 people you surround yourself with. That has rung true throughout the whole of my life, and I try to maintain my most nurturing healing relationships, because those people are good people, and you know, I like those people being my 5 people, and Venus in 11th house people have that vibe. They attract great friends, they love their friends are the family, they're generous with their friends, they care about their friends, and also they care about travel. They care about where they live, they want to experience everything, they want to go to every country, they want to jet set or backpack. They love sensory things. So in palmistry, the Mount of Venus represents our 5 senses, on what we want to spend our money on, how bougie we are. And 11th house Venusians are all about the 5 senses. They are interested in other cultures, they are interested in other beliefs, they are interested in other religions in the way that the 9th house is, but they don't want to learn about it, then they don't want to be academic about it, they don't want to research it, they want to live it. Venus in the 9th house people, Venus in 11th house people are like the kind of people who will visit the Amazon rainforest. They are the kind of people who will go backpacking through the desert because they love life, and they will do it with their friends, no doubt. They spend money on their friends, they spend money on travel, they spend money on learning about foreign cultures, but not in an academic way, in a literal way. So they're much more likely to go and take a class on how to draw Mendy on their hands, because they want to learn how to do that, rather than fully understand the meaning of why Indian women do that as a preparation before they get married. You know, they're not so bothered about the detail, they want to experience it, and through the experience they then learn the detail, and that's what they spend money on. So if Venus is traveling your 11th house, this is a great time for foreign distance travel, for learning about foreign cultures, for having foreign money in your hands. So if you own a business and you are selling to other countries or other cultures, Venus transit in your 11th house is a great green light for that. And it's also just great for friendship and community, for getting involved in passions and group activities that you love that are going to lead to friendships. it is very likely that your love affairs start as friendships and they become very solid friendships over time and then develop into love. Completely different to fifth house. Fifth house is like you go out, you get drunk, which is like the standard British way to meet your husband. You go out, you get drunk, you pull them, and 3 years later you're living together and somehow you're married. Like, that's fifth house energy. 11th house Venus energy is like you've known them for 10 years, you've been best friends, you've weathered the storms of relationships, and now you're ready to come together in a partnership. So that's much more that vibe. Venus in the 12th house can be very beautiful and very nurturing, but it can also be a little bit challenging. So whereas the 8th house Venusian energy is all about power and sexuality and ancestry, the 12th house is hidden sexuality. It's hidden dominance. It's secret love affairs. It's secret crushes. You don't want to express your love very freely. You have secret feelings about people. You have secret crushes. You don't want people to know who your partner is. So a great example of this would be like Dolly Parton. No one's really ever seen her husband. They've been married for what, like 50 years or something, and he is very much behind the scenes. He is not he does not want to be part of the limelight. So that is a very 12th house Venus placement. It's someone who wants to keep their romance, their love, their marriage, their commitments, and their business partnerships hidden. They don't want to talk about how they feel. They don't want to talk about who they are in private. Their private life is completely separate to everything else. How they spend their money, where their money is, what money they have in terms of savings, it is all behind the scenes. It's nobody else's business and they don't want to talk about it. This is often a placement of, like, as I said, secret love affairs. So this can be, you could meet like a partner who is already married, or it's an alternative sort of relationship where they're maybe non-monogamous or something like that, but you would keep it very secret. Your spiritual beliefs are also going to be very secretive, and the way you practice your religion or your spirituality is very hidden from the public world. You like to spend money on quiet retreats. Silent retreat would be brilliant. Spas. I'm thinking like a salt cave. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, or saunas, that kind of thing, where you're sort of inside a dwelling, like a cocoon. 12th house for me is very like cocoon-like. You retreat when you want self-care. You do not, if you are going to a spa, it's on your own. You want time and space on your own. You are self-reflective. You like to mirror back to people as well, so you are very careful about really exposing your true feelings. Health wise, you're quite secretive about your health as well. So daily routines and habits, you can have, again, if you think about the Marie Antoinette vibe of the 6th house, that like bougie baroque over the top. So 6th house Venusians are very happy to have that expressed on a daily basis, but you could still be like that, but it's like very private. So like 6th house Venusians buy a very ostentatious cupcake and they sit and eat it on the bus or on a park bench because it's part of the experience, right? And they're just happy to enjoy it and they don't care if anyone sees it, and they kind of want to be in that hustle and bustle. Venus in the 12th house people still buy the bougie cupcake, but they squirrel it away and wait until everyone's gone to bed, and then they sit and eat it by candlelight, and it's a very private act of self-indulgence. So you can see the difference there on how that interacts. Where that can become a problem is your secretiveness can become habitual, and you can become embroiled in things like secret addictions. That can be an issue, and secret spending. So if I would imagine, like say like a partner, if a partner had Venus in the 12th house and it was badly aspected or had more challenges, you know, they could be like they could have secret debt, right? So you want to try and be discerning about what you choose to be selectively secretive about. Because the thing about astrology is we all have a choice, right? There's not like one route. We all have a choice. We all have a way of doing things. That can be positive and can be negative, and it's just a scale. Sometimes we're here, sometimes we're here, and sometimes we're like really balanced and in the middle. So we want to try and understand the pitfalls so that we can work through them and find positive outlets for the energy, because the energy is there with or without our consent. We are interacting with it irrespective. That's why astrology is real, and that's why it's a thing, because the energy exists. It's just about where we channel and place that energy. Okay, so I've done all 12 houses now. This is a really long video. If you've got to the end, well done, congratulations, thank you for being here. And if you have, please put an emoji down below and let me know what house your Venus is in. I would like to say that in my next videos, I'm going to be doing 12 videos which are Venus in the signs of the zodiac. So for all 12 signs, I'm going to be doing an individual video, what those people are like, how to attract them, how they want to feel loved and nurtured, and yeah, just those aspects that we're looking at. So thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like I said, this is a new series. Please give me a like, subscribe and share. It really helps me out to grow my channel. And if you want to book a personal reading with me, you can book tarot, palm or astrology. I also do past life karmic readings, and I run workshops and other things. So go check out my website, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.